Hey there! So creating vibrantly colored soaps is one of the most satisfying parts of creating soap from scratch. But without knowing a few basics, it can quickly become an expensive and frustrating venture. I mentioned in my scent retention video that CP soap making is a turbulent chemical reaction that creates sharp pH changes as well as producing a lot of heat. This all factors into determining the best colorants for your cold process soap project. The biggest issues with specifically coloring cold process or CP soap are color morphing, which is a color change directly linked to pH and heat changes, color bleeding and migration from the solubility properties of the colorant, and dull or faded colors due to low color saturation or the color fastness of the colorant itself. This video will focus on how to overcome these three problems and which colorant groups will overall give you the worst, okay, and best results. Let's get right into it. All of your color issues can be fixed firstly by selecting the right type of colorant based on its properties. Let's discuss the different colorant groups and which ones are most likely to give you the crisp and vibrant design you want. Alright, two of the worst colorants for CP soap are FD&C and D&C dyes and lakes. So FD&C and D&C dyes are not recommended for cold process soap since they are water soluble. This means that their color components have no barrier to keep them confined in a specific part of your soap. So as your soap dries out, the water is pulling the color into parts of the design that you may not want it. This causes the color to bleed or migrate from one area to the next. Dyes are also light and pH sensitive, which will cause extreme fading and morphing over time. Lakes are a form of dye that simply don't need to be bloomed to bring out its true colors in cosmetic applications. And they're available in a wide variety of bright neon colors. But since they contain dye, they're going to behave the exact same way. Moving on to the OK colorants, we're going to start with our natural plant-based colors. I listed this group as OK because I find that this group of colorants tends to be the most unpredictable. This includes your turmeric, indigo, alkanet root, beetroot, carrot powder, spirulina, etc. The unpredictability is in that once in the batter and after the initial reaction with the lye, these colorants tend to create really vibrant and bold shocks of color. But after saponification, that vibrancy dies down and tends to dissipate to an altered shade or nearly non-existent. I highly recommend you test in smaller batches to see if you're happy with your final color. They also tend to be very light and pH sensitive as well, which can also cause fading and morphing. The next OK colorant is pigments. Pigments are a synthetic colorant that uses a plastic coating along with the dyes and other mineral pigments to create bold colors. This coating helps to keep the colors from bleeding and helps make them heat and solvent resistant. But they can also very easily bleed if too much is used, much like a dye. I also included lakes again in the OK colorant groups because some lakes are actually advertised as being non-bleeding for cold process soap, but it's kind of your chance to take. Now moving on to the group of what I believe to be better colorants. These are basically suspended particles with no soluble components, which will reduce your chances of bleeding. Firstly, there's mica. It's synthetic, but it's nature identical and has a beautiful shimmer that adds dimension to your soap. Then there's oxides and ultramarines. The colors are much more flat, but they can be listed as a natural ingredient and still just as vibrant. The next group that I love is naturally colored clays. Clays can come in a variety of colors from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, and brown, and everything in between. Titanium dioxide is a whitening agent, and one pro tip I would suggest is to make sure you purchase the water-soluble TD and use your stick blender to intensify that color. And lastly, charcoal is in this group as well. Now, after you've decided which colorants are best for you, I want to count down 4 tips that you can use to make sure that you're getting the vibrancy that you're looking for. Tip number 4, quality. All colorants should be high quality and from reputable suppliers to avoid contaminants. Be sure that the distributor has tested the mica for purity, color fastness, and stability in CP soap. Most reputable sellers are going to post images of their performance tests or at least leave notes. So carefully review the seller or manufacturer's notes and definitely, as I always say in my videos, customer reviews. I usually go straight for those lower ratings so I can see any potential problems that I may encounter when I'm working with a specific ingredient. You can't go wrong learning from someone else's mistakes. Tip number 3, mix properly. I highly recommend that you pre-mix your colors with the correct medium. That's usually an equal amount of light oil or a small amount of batter. Add your pre-mixed colorants into the rest of the batch to be colored, then hand stir the colorant through, and then very lightly in short bursts, stick blend your batter to fully incorporate. And you can actually see the colors disperse and get brighter and more vibrant. Now, clay and charcoal, again, I highly recommend that you fully hydrate them with water to the point of being just a bit runny to avoid the powders absorbing the water out of your batter. Then just mix it like your other colors. Tip number 2, to address unsaturated faded colors. Now, if it's not in the colorant's nature to fade, it may simply be a matter of just not using enough colorant. Be mindful though that too much excess colorant will cause staining on washcloths, towels, and clothes and change the color of your lather as well. You always want to maintain a nice white lather. Follow the manufacturer's suggestion of about a half to 1 teaspoon of color per pound of oils at a time, and then just steadily increase until you get the best color with no staining. And my number 1 tip for getting those nice, bold, vibrant colors in your soap, try gelling your soaps. So depending on the ingredients that you're using, this is probably the best option for more vibrant CP soap colors. Gelling is a process that involves your soap heating up while it's molded to a translucent gel phase. Gelling your soaps is going to create a harder bar, but it also makes your colors pop. I will link an article from soapqueen.com in the description box that has excellent images and how-to instructions for gelling your soaps. I hope these tips help you to achieve bolder, brighter soap designs. Keep detailed notes and properly test your colorants, and you will guaranteed find the perfect combination to bring your vibrant soap designs to life. In the description box below, I'm also including a link to the FDA-approved cosmetics color table for your reference and reading. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to me in the comments. I'd love to know what your favorite cold process colorant is. Maybe give your best tip for bright, bold colors in your soap. or even give me a colorant horror story. Also, check out my podcast and other videos with tips and strategies to start your own soap and cosmetics business. Be sure to like and subscribe before you go. With that, I'm Andrea Marah. Peace and blessings, and stay sensational.